when we took over, because this is the second time in history where the Conservatives are not the biggest party. And the last time when the Social Democrats were in government, it was after the crisis. It was a very difficult time, so sort of the room for renewal or policy drive was very limited. And so there was a big mandate for change. But at the same time, I think there was still this sense of disbelief that a social democratic party could sort of have control of the economy, do things properly. So one of the first things that we did was to make sure that people knew that we were taking the economy very seriously. We put on a new fiscal rule, which excluded investment and said, okay, there are limits to how much, fiscal can grow. Mark likes this. We've discussed this. We discussed this. Yeah. We're gonna be balancing the budget. We're gonna be balancing the budget by 2027. And we started out by asking for ideas from the public on tidying up ideas. How do you tidy up with the government? And a big part of that is, it might sound like it's for show, but at the end of the day, a big driver of distrust, I think, in politics today, and I feel this especially because I didn't grow up in politics, I'm relatively new in all of this, is that people just feel like they're not listened to, like their ideas aren't good, and most of the times they have pretty good ideas. And so we collected all these ideas, and it was also a signal to the public that we, despite being a center-left-led government, we like the government, we like systems, we support welfare. We're not watchdogs of the system. It's not, the right tends to say the government is in our way, it needs to be broken down. We would say, okay, there are parts of it that need to be disrupted. And so we're okay by going into systems change, by talking about tidying up, doing things better, even though we might be wanting to spend more on welfare. And I think that gave us an aura of sort of cleaning up in a way. There's 3 women who are in this coalition. So like the leaders of all the parties are women. And we just have this aura of taking care of business. And I think it's really given us a good platform of then doing all sort of the progressive ideas that we need to do in housing and welfare, because we have ownership of what we're doing. So this has been a big focus of us. I also want to say, for example, when it comes to building, Iceland is an energy-rich country, but one thing you might not know is that over the past couple of years, or even a decade, there's been this backlash against power, against harnessing nature. And even in my party, we have people who want to conserve nature. I want to conserve nature. It's very important, but there needs to be a balance between ramping up, building up, getting growth. And we've been very critical of the regulations that have been set that we feel like is not promotive to growth. So we're doing these little small things that show that we're not just there to spend everybody's money. But at the same time, we have a righteousness check, like we did with the fisheries. We're hitting back on the fisheries fees. We're getting income in, we're getting taxes in, and we're not just focusing on cutting. So I think that's definitely given us a lot of trust. And then I will just say at the end of the day, people vote for you to govern, to make difficult decisions. They don't want to always hear that everything you're doing is easy, that they appreciate it. If you say no to some things, and then you say, this is gonna be difficult for a year or 2, but I'm sure it's gonna be better, because it gives you trust. So we've been pretty clear on that this is a longer term project, and I think it's given us credibility, at least for now. Let's see what happens in a year or so.
I just want to pick up on some of what Mark was saying.